Hello, this is Rajesh Bhaskaran. I wanted to continue with the analysis of the torque wrench in ANSYS and mostly on post-processing. So I want to show you post-processing and give you some tips on the mesh refinement and also creating the CAD in Fusion. In class, when I was demonstrating this, I was not able to get the right material in the assignment of material to the part. I exited out of mechanical and came back in, and that solved the issue. So now if I go under materials, I see I have M42 steel with the right Young's modulus and Poisson's ratio. So I will control click on all three, and then I will assign that material. And what this has done is, if I go to my slides, it's now ANSYS has the right material properties, that is constants, in the governing equations. And since we have changed the governing equations or the constants in the governing equations, we need to resolve and so that ANSYS will regenerate the system of algebraic equations in nodal displacements and calculate the nodal displacements. So I'll come in here, highlight solution, and hit solve, and give it a moment. After the solve completes, if I look at the total deformation, that's been updated, and I get a maximum displacement of around 0.14 inches. And if I go to my slides and go to this particular slide, the start of post-processing, I see that when I did a case with no fillets, I got 0.1. So, and if I compare that to the hand calculation result provided by Professor Zender, I see that it's around 0.1 inch in the hand calculation. So without the fillets, it's very close to the hand calculation. With fillets, it's a little bit higher, and which is not surprising because in the hand calculation you cannot account for the exact boundary condition of the clamping on the clamped area on the drive. And we can also plot the directional deformation, say in the x direction. I won't do that in the interest of time, but that might also be useful. And to save this result to a file, I can, and save it as an image, I can go to, there's this option, image to file. So if I go to the quick launch and type in image, and I see this option, image to file, and I can say, take me there, and it says, oh, it's over here, and I can say image to file, okay, and then say maybe save the file on the desktop, which I won't do over here. And I wanted to also point out that under the Home tab, there is this reset layout option. If the layout gets garbled, if you miss a window or something, you can come in here and say reset layout. And any option you can actually search, and it'll show you where the option is. If you say take me there. So that is a handy thing to know. Next, what I want to do is calculate the strain. the normal strain in the z direction at the strain gauge. First, and so if I go to the problem statement, the strain gauge is over here. So if I go in here and I say solution, highlight solution in the tree, go to the solution context menu, strain, normal, and we want it in the z direction. And I'll say retrieve this result. And I like to view this without the autoscale. So viewing the strain on the undeformed model, you see again you get some concentrations over where the drive is attached to the handle, and also the part where the clamped region ends. And if I say probe, and I probe around here where the strain gauge is, you see that it is around 3.88 10 to the power of minus 4. And if I multiply that by 10 to the power of 6, that's around 388 microstrains. How does that compare with the hand calculation? The hand calculation says that the strain at the gauge is 375 microstrain. So it's pretty close. Let's do a more exact calculation. So what I'll do is I will place a coordinate system where the strain gauge is, and that if I go to the this figure here, that is a distance of L minus C, which is 15 inches from this end. So I need to do it in two steps. I need to create a coordinate system centered over there, and then evaluate the strain in that coordinate system. So let me go in here and first create the coordinate system. So I'll click on, let's say, so let me go back to geometry and select the edge selection filter. Select that edge, and then if I go to coordinate systems and select a coordinate system. So that's created a coordinate system, and if I zoom in, let's say I'll go to the isometric view actually, and I'll rotate it. So I can rotate it by holding down the middle mouse button, and then translate as holding down control and the middle mouse button. And I'll rename this to be gauge coordinate system. And now I'll go in here, and actually I need to move this. So when I go to the coordinate system, I'll say offset in X, and then it'll give me the offset value, and I'll say minus 50. Actually, offset, I did that wrong. So offset in X is 0, offset in Z is minus 15. So you don't even need the offset in X. And that gives me the right location. And then I'll go to solution, probe, strain, and instead of geometry selection, I will select coordinate system. Orientation, the orientation of the global coordinate system is right, so I don't need to change that. But the location, I need to change it to the gauge coordinate system. And then I will say retrieve this result, which is ANSYS lingo for post-processing. And then if I come here, I see I'll expand results, and if I zoom in, I see that it is 3.75 10 to the power of minus 4, the normal strain in the z direction. And if I multiply that by 6, I get 375, multiply that by 10 to the power of 6, I get 375 microstrains. And that matches exactly with the hand calculation. if I go here, 375 microstrains. That is very encouraging. Maybe I know what I'm doing. And then I want to look at the normal stress now. So I'll go back to the model, highlight solution in the tree, and I'll say stress, normal, and then we want it in the z direction. And I will say retrieve this result. And if I turn on the maximum and min, it shows me the locations, and the min is the most compressive, max is the most tensile. And again, you see where we have the end of the clamp boundary condition, we get that stress concentration. In fact, this is a stress singularity. It'll keep going up as we refine the mesh. And we have to do some special things about the boundary conditions to get rid of that, which we won't worry about. And then we get this maximum stress over here, and I can go to edges and turn on show elements, and I'll say probe, and I can probe around there, and you see it's at this node, a mid-side node, that I get the maximum. Now this value will also go up on refining the mesh, but not as much, and we don't think it's a stress singularity. So for the safety factor for strength, you can just use that value and make sure that the safety factor is greater than 4 to account for the fact that that value will go up as you refine the mesh. So use that value and for the value around there on your modified design, for instance, and make sure you have a safety factor of at least 4 with that value. So that accounts for the mesh dependence of that value. And if I now the hand calculation misses this. If I deselect probe, the hand calculation misses that. That stress concentration, and the maximum in the hand calculation, is in this region, and because it just assumes that it's clamped, and it comes to around 12. So if I put in the value there, it's around 12.4 KSI, and that's close to the value that Professor Zender has given you. And in fact, the hand calculation predicts that this will keep going up because it doesn't account for the fact that how the clamping is done. So that makes sense. Let me just delete these for now, and then by right-clicking. Okay, so that gives you, instructions on how to do the normal stress in the z direction, and the problem statement also asks you for the maximum principal stress. So if I go to stress, I can look at maximum principal, and then you can say retrieve this result, and we can cover in class interpretation of this result. The problem statement also asks you to check the validity of the beam theory assumption that plane sections remain plane. And the way to do that is go back to total deformation and view it along Y. So I rotated it using the middle mouse button and then clicked on Y. And then if I zoom out using the middle mouse wheel, let me turn off the maximum and minimum. And what I'll do is I'll super exaggerate the displacement. So I'll exaggerate it 33 times. These are things you can do on the computer, which is super useful. So I will super exaggerate it. And then if I zoom in towards the end, you see that, a plane section like that after the displacement it's still a plane section. There's no warping, for instance, and the mesh lines are still orthogonal. So in this region, definitely the beam theory assumption that plane sections remain plane is valid, and it may break down, over as you get closer to the drive. And if I go to my slide, so we did strains, we did stresses, and we checked the validity of plane sections remain plane. And in terms for verification, we already did the checks with the hand calculations, which is looking good. You can check if the reactions balances the applied load, and there's an easy way to check that. So I'll take the displacement boundary condition and drag it onto solution, and then I'll say retrieve this result. And so that's telling me to hold that, those nodes with zero displacement. This is the total force I have to apply. And you see that, let me zoom in here. You see it is it matches exactly the applied force, and it's in the opposite direction. And in the y and z direction, it's not zero, it's a little bit low, and it's a very small number, and you have to interpret this as zero. And it's not zero because of the finite precision of the computer, the so-called round-off errors. And then if I go back to my slides, the other thing you can do for verification is mesh refinement. And so you can do it very easily by going to mesh and changing this to 0.125 and resolving. So if I do 0.125 and then I say generate mesh by right-clicking, or I can select this option here, and I now have around 24,000 nodes, and then I can resolve and check my results, how they have changed. Okay, so that's how you could do mesh refinement very quickly, mesh refinement study. And then if I go back to my slides, so for the CAD, we suggest you use Autodesk Fusion, and the answers help page has the information on that. I'll bring up that page in a moment. And you need to save the Fusion model as a step file and then import into answers. And our video shows you that. And it turns out you need to share the topology in answers to get a conformal mesh. So what happens is, if you share topology, it comes in as one part with subparts, and then the result of that is, between parts, as they call it, the mesh is conformal. So this node, for instance, if I go to the node selection filter, is shared by this part and this part. If you don't do shared topology, you'll have a different node for this part and a different node for this part, and they may not align. And you need to do stuff like that if you're solving contact problems. And the procedure in answers is the same for the new geometry that you create. And here's the link, which is also on Canvas with the answers help information. And so here is a link to the recording from the lecture, and we'll also put this video on this page. And so hope you enjoyed this exercise. I've had a lot of fun solving this myself, and we'll also be providing help in class.